Hey everyone. All right, so in this video, we're going to talk about John Lasseter, the head of Pixar and Walt Disney Animation Studios. It was announced just a few days ago that he is on a 6-month hiatus due to sexual harassment slash sexual assault allegations. Okay, so first and foremost, I do want to say that I support and my heart goes out to all the victims that were victimized from Mr. Lasseter. No woman should have to put up with that at the workplace or anywhere. So I support you guys 1,000%, and my heart goes out to you because that is a extremely uncomfortable, horrible experience to have to put up with. So with that said, what do I make of all this drama surrounding Lasseter? Well, number one, I don't care what the press release stated, with the 6-month hiatus, leave of absence. John Lasseter will not return to Disney. I can pretty much guarantee that. There is no way that John Lasseter takes a 6-month vacation basically and just walks into Disney and Pixar like nothing ever happened. That will not occur. I can promise you that, especially in this current atmosphere where society is really like hyper vigilant about sexual harassment and sexual assault ever since Harvey Weinstein. So there's no way Lasseter is returning. I don't care if they say it's only 6 months, it's not. You'll see in the upcoming weeks, maybe even in a couple of months, they will officially announce his replacement and that they are officially parting ways with Mr. Lasseter. So that will be coming. So he is not returning. Okay, these executives, when they go on leaves of absence for misconduct and what have you, they almost never come back. And it's usually just kind of the hiatus is just there to kind of stall until they find a replacement. So I don't believe he's coming back. So that's number one. Number two, what do I think this means creatively for Pixar and Walt Disney Animation Studios? Well, I think this is where a lot of you guys might disagree with me. I want to get it out of the way and let you guys know. I think Lasseter is a brilliant visionary, a creative genius. I'm saying it right now. I think Lasseter is a genius. Okay, but I feel like this situation has sort of a silver lining in the sense that Lasseter has been in that role. Really, he's the guy, for Pixar and Walt Disney Animation, and it's been over 10 years for his vision and his direction for both studios. I think it's sort of a blessing now that we have the opportunity to bring in a fresh set of eyes, some new blood to carry on that role and see where someone else can take both of these studios. Okay, I think that's a good thing. It's sort of similar to, when George Lucas sold, Star Wars to Disney. Even though Lucas is brilliant, I mean, really an incredible visionary, it was still refreshing to have, now Kathleen Kennedy, which is, currently running the studio, have her take and her vision and where she thinks Star Wars should go. Okay, and I think that's the same thing for Pixar and Walt Disney Animation Studios. It'll be kind of refreshing to have just a new person in there kind of guiding the studio in their direction and see where they take it. Okay, now I'm also not 100% pleased. Even though I like Lasseter's work for the most part, I'm not really 100% happy with how he's handled Pixar and Disney. He's really turned both animation houses into sequel factories. Okay, and I know a lot of people will say, well, that might not be Lasseter's fault, it might be coming from higher above. That's true, but Lasseter came into Disney when they purchased Pixar with a whole lot of clout. Okay, so I think that if he was really firmly against a lot of this stuff, he could fight hard and probably, shoot it down, but I don't think he really did. For Pixar, the sequels don't bother me as much. It's a newer studio. It sort of can go by its own rules or a different set of rules. For Walt Disney Animation Studios, though, I hold that studio to a much higher standard. That's the legendary studio that Walt Disney founded, and there's a lot of history there. and they typically didn't go down the sequel route, okay? And now I understand like Saludos Amigos and Three Caballeros, I believe that was a sequel, and I know they did The Rescuers Down Under, and that was a sequel, but it's far and few between, okay? But right now, currently, Walt Disney Animation Studios is working on Wreck-It Ralph 2 and Frozen 2. And if you think that's the end of that, it's not going to happen. They're going to make sequel after sequel after sequel. Disney Animation will be Pixar in the sense that we'll get sequels constantly now. They've opened the floodgates, and I don't like that. I feel like it really cheapens the brand, cheapens the studio. Okay, imagine if in the 90s, Beauty and the Beast, when it was a major hit, imagine if they went on to make Beauty and the Beast 2 and Beauty and the Beast 3. It would tarnish the film. It would cheapen it, right? So that's how I feel about that. I know a lot of you might disagree. I think Lasseter could have fought a little harder to kind of stave off some of those sequels, but it is what it is. Number two, another thing that I really am not happy with the Lasseter era is he killed traditional animation. He came into Disney essentially promising that he doesn't want to end traditional 2D animation. Okay? But he did. They got rid of all their traditional animation at Disney, and we haven't had a traditional animation feature since Princess and the Frog, and there's no rumors or anything that there's ever going to be another one. Okay? It's highly unlikely. Now, it's the same thing with the sequels. People can say that it was Bob Iger or the higher ups that wants, the CGI. But at the end of the day, John Lasseter has a lot of clout at Disney, and he was given the task to rebuild the animation, to rebuild animation at Walt Disney. Okay? He was given that task, and he was given a lot of clout to do so. I find it hard to believe that if Lasseter pushed really hard to make traditional animated films, that Bob Iger wouldn't go along with it. I find that hard to believe. I'm certain that we could have more 2D animated films if Lasseter pushed harder. He did not. And instead, we essentially have all CGI films. And I have nothing against CGI, but traditional animation is a beautiful art form. And it's, in my opinion, really sad to see it go. Really, really sad. So those are my thoughts on John Lasseter. Another thing that's kind of an interesting thing to think about, Lasseter currently runs, as I said before, Pixar and Walt Disney Animation Studio. He's also an advisor for Walt Disney and Walt Disney Imagineering. Now, if he's gone for good, which I think he is, will the new person that they replace him with take on all those roles as well? So will the new person be head of Pixar, Walt Disney, and be an advisor to Imagineering? Or will Disney opt to have multiple people take over those roles? Will we go back to having, a head for Pixar and a head for Walt Disney Animation Studios? We'll go down that road. So that's very interesting to see what direction Disney takes it. I'm thinking they're going to probably have someone, a different person for each, studio. That's how I think they're going to handle it. But hey, they might just replace Lasseter, and that person could handle both studios. Who knows? But if you're wondering who my pick would be to be head of animation, I would want Pete Docter of Pixar. He is brilliant. He is a hit maker. His films are always fantastic. He's young. I think he's the man. We'll see what happens though. But comment below, what do you guys think? Do you agree with me on all this Lasseter stuff? Do you disagree with me? Do you think he's going to come back? Or do you agree with me? Do you think it's pretty much done, terminated? What are your guys' thoughts on this? There's a lot to discuss here. Thank you so much for watching. I do content on Disney all the time, and as always, have a wonderful day.